All right, thank you so much, everybody. Welcome to this another powerful, amazing discussion that we are going to have today here in our Paradigm Switch Book Club. And some of you who has been here last week, we were discussing about gratitude. And then later on, I have shared some ideas and instructions with all of you about forgiveness because I believe this is something which is very, very important. So what we're going to do today is that we're going to expand upon whatever we discussed in relation to gratitude last week. And then we are just going to make this discussion even more powerful because we are just getting started and we're actually digging deep into the ideas of why, the gratitude and these things matters a lot in our life and why we need to forgive. Because today's call, it will be more about this word here, that is forgiveness. Because I believe in our life, it doesn't matter if it is personal life, it is professional life, or it could be any aspect of our life. There are incidents or there are situations that come across our way and we just feel so pissed off by a few people, and sometimes we feel like that, how can someone actually do this to me? And I believe this is an experience that everybody has gone through on a different level in their life, right? Maybe some of your loved one has really done something to you that you have not expected at all from them, right? Or maybe a business associate have said something to you that you could not even imagine someone saying to you. And then what happened? Those ideas that really get stuck within our own mind, ideas really get, you know, fixated into our memory, into our brain cells, and that ideas really end up making us struggle a lot. So as you can see that gratitude and forgiveness, these two elements has to be combined together if we want to make something big in our life, if we want to experience the real freedom in our life. We cannot experience the freedom until or unless we are not free from within, right? Have you ever, went to a party where you don't want it to be, and all of a sudden you feel like that you're in the wrong environment, and then at the same time you went to some other place and you felt like so excited and you felt like that, all right, that's the place for me. Exactly in the same way, there is something that has to be done within us, within the environment of our mind. And we have to find a way how to do it. And gratitude and forgiveness, these are the two practices that helps us to build onto that environment. These are the practices that really helps us to get to a point where we can actually eliminate all the things that are no longer for us and actually fill up with the things that we do want. Now, moving to the first part of the day, I want you to just think about what we have here. All right. Now, let's think about gratitude. Now, gratitude, I must say that it's something very powerful. Okay. Now, I have been reading a book called as The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. And that book really shares some very powerful and amazing ideas. And I want to expand upon these ideas for you. All right. Now, Wallace D. Wattles said that gratitude is the process of mental adjustment and atonement. That's what he said. He said gratitude is a process of mental adjustment and atonement. And if I have to, if I tell you the proper definition that he said the mental adjustment. He said the whole process of mental adjustment can be summed up in one word, and that is gratitude. And he used these two words, adjustment and atonement, in a very, very significant way. And I want you to just pay attention to these two words here, right? Because these two words here, adjustment and atonement, they really do mean something very, very powerful if you understand the meaning. Now, first of all, we have to understand that we are living in an environment where we are just bombarded with ideas, information like night and day. So this is actually the life cycle of our life, right? There are going to be some points where we'll be super positive. There are going to be some points when we'll be super negative. Or there are going to be situations when things are easier, and there are going to be situations when things are not easier. So what is required in those moments is the adjustment. It is the adjustment of how we deal with situations. Is the adjustment of how we, let's say that, how we become the person who actually went through a situation and still remain calm, still remain relaxed, and really get everything that they want. And to make this adjustment, we have to learn the art of how we're going to attune ourselves. In other words, how we are going to become in line with the laws, in line with the laws, the universal laws. Because when we are talking about atonement, and this is what I tell to everybody, if I work with someone one on one on a coaching process or something like that, I always tell them that the only difference between a person who get a lot out of a book and a person who never gets something out of a book is that are they really becoming what they're reading? Now, that's may seem like a big idea to some of you right now, but this is what this whole psychology, philosophy, mindset, science, whatever you want to call it, just call it. But understand that results don't change until you become the one with philosophy, science, psychology, whatever it is. And in my understanding, I love to call it, the the science of the universe, or I just call it the divine knowledge. So when you become one with this divine knowledge, that's when you change the results that you want, my dear friend. And at the end of the day, we all want change in results. Some of us want better income. Some of us want better relationships. Some of us want, let's say, better salary or whatever it is. And we cannot have it until or unless we let go of what is holding us back. Let's talk an example. Let's take an example in the workplace. You might have grudges for the people that you work with. You might have grudges for your managers. You might have grudges for your senior management or whatever it is. And having those grudges or having those negative belief systems or whatever they are is not serving you. Actually, it is bringing you more down and down and down and down. So the only way for you to really go beyond this and get that results that you want is to let go of that grudge, is to let go of that feeling, that vibration, that energy that is just, you know, just like putting you down and down and down and down. So it is the mental adjustment and the atonement that what is done through gratitude. When you practice gratitude every single day, and sometimes my client asks me that, why it is important to do gratitude. That's what I tell them. It's not just important, it is super important to practice gratitude, but most important is on consistent basis. If your gratitude is like you've done it today and then you haven't done it for a week and then you come back and then you do it and then you again don't do it, you're not going to see the visible results that the people will see who are actually doing it every single day. So you need to bring this idea to your mind very, very importantly, okay? That if you want to make a big shift into your life, if you want to achieve something that you want to achieve, okay, you have to understand how to attune yourself with the laws in and around you. Just like the way if we are going to a country where we know the weather is going to be pretty cold, pretty chilly outside, we never go with a t-shirt on. We go with maybe a jacket, something like that keeps us warm, right? We prepare ourselves. Exactly. These tools are preparing you for life. These tools are preparing you for the person that you want to become. And these tools are actually going to make you the person who you deserve to become. Because life is not just about, going from one day to another and not realizing what's happening. Life is about being consciously aware about yourself, that I am the one, I'm enjoying this. I am really, really loving my life. And the only way to do it is to find something that you love to do or start loving that you're doing right now. Because at the end of the day, if you start loving what you're doing right now, the way will be shown to you to find out something that you love. Because many people are stuck on this point either, because they don't know what they love to do and they're not even loving what they're doing right now. And Wallace D. Waller wrote about it in The Science of Getting Rich. He said, you have to become big enough for your present place that you find the place that you deserve. And how we find that place? We find that place by being grateful. We find this place by really, really paying the gratitude for the things that we have. And it's consistent gratitude. Yeah, that's why I come up with an idea last week that, I told everybody that Let's make this gratitude exercise a very fun exercise and at the same time something very interesting for all of you. So that's why I told everyone involved in this group that add me on Snapchat, do your gratitude every single day, and then just post it to me on the Snapchat. It's just like sending a streak, right? So at the end of the day, you're sending this streak. And when you look back after a month or 2 months or 3 months, you will realize that, oh, yes, I have been doing this for 60 days. And some of you may not experience anything within 60 days, but you know what happens someday, 61st, 62, 63, or whatever it is, you're going to realize that, oh, yes, that's what it means by being grateful. That's what it means by actually loving yourself. And that's why you have to go through this consistent process of gratitude. That's what is required. There will be days when you will feel bad. There will be days when you will feel good. But if you are grateful, irrespective of whatever is happening, if you are grateful for everything that is happening around you, if you're grateful for wherever you are, if you're grateful for what you're doing right now, things are going to change. And they're going to change very, very immediately and very, very drastically. I can tell you that. All right. Now, moving further, I want you to really think about it for a minute. There is a law that I want to share with you today. And that law is called as the law of vacuum. Now, we're understanding the idea of gratitude, right? We're understanding the idea of forgiveness, which we will come on to later on. But in my understanding of working with this philosophy, science, knowledge, whatever I always call it, I have observed one thing, that any knowledge is really shallow knowledge without the knowledge of the law behind that information. For example, I can tell you about belief system, I can tell you about paradigms, I can tell you about all kind of crazy stuff. But if I don't tell you about the laws, or if you do not understand the foundational laws behind that information, what is that information is absolutely not the complete knowledge for you. You know, imagine that you are trying to operate a computer, right? And you don't know like about anything about computers, and you don't know how to operate it. You're going to have difficult time operating it, right? But when you came from an understanding, and that's what happens when you came from an understanding of the law, that things become really, really different for you. And the law of vacuum is actually a foundational law. I must say it like that way, because all the other laws, whether it's the law of thinking, law of non-resistance, law of obedience, law of polarity, law of cause and effect, like there are tons of laws. But the law of vacuum, it's in every single law. And it is simple. It says that get rid of what you don't want to make room for what you do want. It is simple, but at the same time, it takes a strong amount of determination. It takes a strong amount of belief system to actually put these laws into practice. Now, one of the ways to practice this law is that, and you can do it if you want it, or you can just leave it if you don't want to practice it that way, right? I want you to look at your life today, tomorrow, whenever you can, and ask yourself a question like, maybe let's look at your clothes. Just give you an idea of how does it works, right? And look at your clothes and have a great thinking about it and ask yourself a question. Are there any clothes that I haven't used from quite a long time and I know I'm not going to use in the future, but they're still a part of your collection? And if they are, just just get rid of them. Now, when I say just get rid of them, give it to someone, all right? Whatever way you like it. And what does happen when you do this is you have created a vacuum. And that's what we are talking about. What we are talking about here is that we are talking about creating a vacuum. And when you create a vacuum into your life about certain things, by law, that vacuum has to be filled. And you know what happened in our life? Most of the time, we are creating a vacuum for the things that we do not want. How many times you have found yourself doing conversations like that? I wish I could have it, but I know I cannot. I wish I had this. I wish I had that. And when you're doing this kind of conversation, understand that you're actually self-suggesting those negative ideas again and again and again and again to your mind. And when these self-suggestions are going into your mind, it's not going to help you. So there has to be a vacuum, and that vacuum has to be created. And whenever the vacuum is created in your life, irrespective of wherever the vacuum is created, by law, this vacuum is going to be filled. Like for example, let's say that, you want to get healthy. Okay. You want to get healthy. If you want to get healthy, you have to know that you have to find a way to get rid of the food that is not helping you. You have to find a way to start exercising, right? And you have to find a way to stay disciplined. And to do all these things, this is only possible when you clear out your schedule, when you make a vacuum. You cannot exercise until or unless you don't give yourself time. And maybe to give yourself the time, you may have to let go of some of the things that you're doing right now that you know are no longer serving you. It may be like we're letting go of unnecessary scrolling on the social media, or it could be letting go of anything. It could be anything, right? But it's you who has to decide. I'm just giving you one example. And then with respect to food, you have to let go of your craving as long as you're in that process. You have to let go of maybe some of your favorite foods for a certain time. All right. You can still have it, but in a balanced and a disciplined way. And to make sure that you are disciplined, there is a vacuum which has to be created. And let me ask you a question. Do you know the first place where that vacuum is going to be created? Any one of you who just want to give a vague guess in the chat box. I repeat the question. Do you know where is the first place where this vacuum has to be created? Anybody wants to answer in the chat box? Now, so the first place, if you want, you can answer in the chat box, all right? So the first place where this vacuum has to be created, my dear friends, and it's not a surprise for anymore now, because it's so obvious. That vacuum has to be created in your thinking first. If the vacuum is not created in your thinking, forget about it. You're not going to create it in your real life. So that vacuum, it begins by changing what you're thinking about whatever it is. Let's say if it is exercise, what are those limiting beliefs that are stuck in your mind that you have to let go? If it is about food, what are the limiting beliefs that you have with respect to food? Or what are the ideas that you have with respect to food? Do you think you cannot eat that healthy food? Do you think it's not going to be tasty enough for you, or whatever it is? You have to find a way to make space for it. Because if you don't make space for it, you are not going to find a way to do it. That's what love vacuum is. Now, just for a moment, okay? Just for a moment, I want you to think. Think about it. Think about it. When was the last time when you really, really felt so happy about something that you have done in your life? Think about that a moment. It could be something that you have achieved. What was the self of accomplishment, or what was the self of, the feeling, the sense of feeling that you have at that time? How was that feeling for you? Was it really amazing? Was it something that you can actually feel right now? And I'm sure if you just try to close your eyes and think about that particular moment that you had, and bang, bang, like this, what's going to happen? You're going to feel that moment right now, right here. How and why? Because our mind thinks in pictures. Our mind thinks in images. It doesn't matter whatever the memory is or from how old the memory is. It just gets on the surface. And that's what we have to understand, when we are practicing, or when you are thinking about practicing these technologies, or these practices that I'm teaching you. You have to understand that there is a lot of foundational work that has to be done before you can actually start practicing it. Now, let's go back to the time and understand how those old ideas, the grudges or whatever they are, how does they get into our mind? Why we start experiencing blockages? Why we start experiencing that I'm not worthy enough? Why we start experiencing that I'm not good enough? When you was a little baby, your mind was wide open like this. Okay, let's this be your subconscious mind. Until the age of 6, 7, you had no ability to reject whatsoever ideas were going around you. So, the ideas from other people, how they behave, how they acted, the ideas from your family, like how your mom and dad talk to each other, what they were thinking about their life, what were their viewpoints, whatever their thinkings were, all this, and the ideas that you have unconsciously grabbed from TV or social media or whatever it was, all these ideas went into your subconscious mind. And guess what happened? Since you had no conscious choice of either accepting or rejecting these ideas, you had no conscious choice. The only thing that you could do at that time was to just accept whatever was happening around you. And this is where all the early age programming was done. And this is where we have formed the paradigms that we have right now. You know, the way we think about people, the way we think about situations, the way we think about, our experiences in our life. All these things, in fact, majority of these things are based upon the subconscious programming and the conditioning that has taken place when we were a little kids. And just to exaggerate upon the problem, now when we are adults, you know, we we do have that conscious ability. This describes our mind and body. We have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. This is our body, and this is the brain, the left and the right. Now, you know what's happening? We just now understood that we have this conditioning, right? We have these paradigms in our subconscious mind. Now, there is a situation that is happening in our life. Let's say it could be any situation. Now, we are old enough now, and we have developed our consciousness, or must say that the conscious thinking ability. And this conscious ability is giving us the choice that we can accept the ideas that are happening around us, or we can reject the ideas that are happening around us or situation. But the problem is that since we are conditioned, we have these old paradigms right here at the subconscious mind. We just allow the ideas that are in line with our paradigm to get into our conscious mind. For example, let's say when you was a little kid, I'll give you an example. Let's say when you was a little kid, your family had very negative belief systems about money. Your family always think that it is hard to earn money. And now you are born and brought up with the paradigm that it is hard to earn money. You know what happened? In your life, there are situations that are around you. You know that if you go ahead and take action on these situations, you may end up earning money. But you know what's happened? You're rejecting that idea of your passion. Why? Because you are programmed with the idea that it is very hard to earn money and you cannot do it. And the same thing applies to a different example. Let's say you were born in a family who think that it is easy to earn money. You were born in a family where taking risk was encouraged. You were born in a family where, your family, your parents, whatever the people you were surrounded were, they were all optimistic. They were all thinking about, yes, this can be done, that can be done. Then you know what's going to happen? Now you are programmed with the paradigm of it's easy, and whenever you thinking about doing something big, it's a big opportunity come your way, and you know you're passionate about it. You just simply go ahead and act upon that idea, and you get the results that you want. And this happens by a law, my dear friend. This literally happens by a law. And the law is right there. It's straight there. This happens because we become in tune with the laws. And this holds true for all other examples in your life. For example, let's say you were born in a family, or not in a family. Let's say when you was a little kid, you were always surrounded with an environment. I would love to call it environment because this is where all the programming is done, where you have seen people who always have problems with relationships, And this is what get programmed into your brain, that relationships are tough to maintain. And now you're born and brought up with this idea that relationship is tough to, build. And you have attracted a person who seems like an ideal person, but then what happened? If you get into relationships, you're going to get stuck in that. Why? Because you have that programming into your mind. Or otherwise you may just reject that person. You will never get into relationships. You know why? Because there is some idea stuck into your mind. And this is true for all the other things. It is true for money. It is true for everything. Exactly. I can read your comment, and you're very true here, Pollock. Early experiences leads to formation of core beliefs as an individual. And this is exactly what has happened with all of us. We all have been through experiences in our life, and not just, when we're little kids. Even right now, we still do it. Why? Because we have this conditioning, we have this paradigm, we have that programming, and we allow these experiences to just keep revolving in our head again and again, again and again, again and again, and we still lead to the same ideas and same belief systems. And this is exactly what is happening with us. And this is where it is very, very important for us, my dear friends, that we all understand something powerful. And that is what I call it as forgiveness. If you're not forgiving yourself, because understand that when you was a little kid, it was not your fault. Okay. It was not your fault that you were raised and brought up with these ideas, because you had no conscious choice at that time. But now you have the choice. Now you can do it. Now you have the ability to do, I must say that. And this is when you have to build upon your ability. This is when you have to let go of these ideas. Forgiveness. If you have already brought the Amazon journal that I have shared with you last week in the group, that's amazing. If you haven't purchased the Amazon journal, the gratitude journal yet, I will share the link again with you, because I want all of you to really, really get this idea sorted into your head about forgiveness and gratitude. And this has to be done on every single day. And that's why we have that challenge. Anyone and everyone who do this for straight 30 days, okay? And I'm giving you a time of 2 months. I know some of you are not going to get straight away into this exercise, because some of you will still be resilient enough to do that. So I'm giving you 2 months time, and anyone who will do the exercise of gratitude and forgiveness 30 straight days, and send me a streak on Snapchat that I have done it today for straight 30 days, you will have the opportunity to get a mentorship, a one-on-one mentorship with me, which will be exclusively for 3 months, and we'll be working together on your goals, on your objectives, thinking and planning about how I can help you in this whole process. And this is for only those people who actually do the work for 30 days, straight 30 days. So you have time till the end of this, probably, let's say, the end of this year. So until December, I'm giving this opportunity to anyone and everyone who do it for straight 30 days. We will be having 5 winners. So whoever are the first 5 winners, that's all sorted and done for them. All right. Now, coming back to the idea of forgiveness again here, we're going to really break it down to these three elements, right? In my understanding, and by reading different viewpoints from different people, from different authors, I've understood that basically forgiveness is a three-step process. It includes release, lose, and let go. So what does this mean, release? Release it simply means you have to, first of all, before release, you have to do a discover process. Okay. And what does discover process mean? Now, the discover process means you sit down with a blank sheet of paper and ask yourself a question. Am I holding on to any old ideas? Am I holding on to any old feelings? Or am I holding on to any old conditions? And this is what you have to do, okay? And this is a practical exercise that I'm telling you. Take a blank sheet of paper and write down all the belief system that you have about yourself, all the old experiences that you don't like, and all the old emotions and feelings that are still stuck in your head. The feelings that, maybe you hated someone, maybe you didn't like how someone behaved to you. Describe it as detailed as possible as you can on a sheet of paper. Now, understand that the moment you write these experiences, the moment you write these ideas, the moment you write all of these on a piece of paper, my dear friends, understand that point. Now, these belief systems are on paper, they're not in your head, at least for that moment. And this is where we have to use the old methodology or the old school way of burning those ideas. Now, take out that paper and literally burn it, put it on fire. And in front of your own side, own eyes, see those belief systems, see those old feelings actually getting burned out. Understand that burning is symbolic to your subconscious mind. It is symbolic that you are letting go of those ideas. But that's not where everything ends, but that's where the process of forgiveness begins, where you have let go of those ideas, where you have literally burned those ideas. And once you do the step number one, now that is the process is for step number two. Now the step number two is every day, just do some kind of relaxation meditation, or you can do a forgiveness meditation, right? I have a couple of them already on my channel. I will share the links later on today in our WhatsApp group. So if you're not part of our WhatsApp group, I'll encourage you to join the WhatsApp group. If you don't know how to join it, you can reach out to me, or probably I'll send you an email by the end of today that will teach, that will give you the instructions on how to do that. All right. But get involved into some sort of relaxation or forgiveness meditation. Okay. And just lose yourself into that moment. When I say just lose yourself into that moment, that means rediscover the inner you. Rediscover that the power inside you is infinite. Rediscover that you are one with the universe. And rediscover that you are enough. And this is very important for you to understand these ideas. This is very important for you to understand that you are enough. It's important for you to understand that. And then let go. The last step is, I love the way my mentor Bob Proctor used to tell it. He said, let go and let God. When you have done this forgiveness, when you have done this, let go of it. Don't just get attached to these ideas. Let them loose. And guess what? Universe will respond back to you. The universe will respond back to you in the form of new situations, in the form of new individuals, in the form of new environment. I tell people every time that, if you're someone who is joining this call for the first time, maybe somewhere, somehow, universe has made it a way for you to be in the new environment. And this book club may be the beginning of that new environment for you. So, forgiveness. Understand that when you're forgiving someone, you're not doing it for them, you're doing it for yourself. And it doesn't matter how bad someone has done to you. It doesn't matter how, hurtful you are. I know it doesn't matter, but in the moment, you have to go beyond that. It doesn't matter how hurtful it has been, you know? So you have to go beyond that. And as I can see that there, I think we do have a question. Inability, let me just go through that one. Could you please elaborate more on your question, please? Somehow I understand what the context of this question is, but if you can just elaborate more upon that what you actually want to understand, I'll be able to just share more information and more ideas, or I must say that more explanation on that. Sometimes I think that, when we talk about inability to forgive, so, okay, I got it. Understand that when we are forgiving someone, that does not mean we are allowing them to come back again into our life and hurt us back again. Okay. So I got it, the context of the question from where it is coming. That's what I said, let go and let God. We know that we cannot, like, sometimes, we cannot change people, how people react, right? And if there is someone who is just keep quoting us again and again, again and again, again and again, okay, we forgive them. We mentally let go of that energy. When we mentally just tell ourselves that, all right, it doesn't matter. And then we prepare ourselves that even if something similar happens, I'm not going to care about it. Because understand that forgiveness means letting go of an idea of a lower nature to attract an idea of a higher nature. And for example, let's say if it is someone in your life who just annoys you too much, who is always trying to be, who is always pissing you off and who is not just being the person you want to be around, okay, forgive them. And you know what's happened when you forgive them and you let go of the idea? By law, that person or that situation is going to disappear from your life, or it will change completely. All right. So there's a there is a huge depth to this idea of forgiveness, right? And I can relate to your question because I was there 6 years ago. I had a hard time forgiving people, and I just wanted to tell myself that, okay, if I'm not letting them to be in my life, that means I'm setting up a boundary, right? Which is okay, which is fair enough. But then I understood that there is a way of setting a spiritual boundary rather than just setting up a mental and a physical boundary in my life. Okay. And the more you read about it, it's just going to become more clearer and clearer and clearer to you. And I hope I was able to give you some sort of idea about your question, because this is a very common question, right? And I can completely relate to that because I have experienced that on many, many occasions, right? And if you think it's still there is something that you want more on this context, you can always write me an email, or you can always send me a message. I would definitely love to discuss more about that with you. All right. But I hope this explanation that I've given you has really given you some sort of clarity that when we talk about forgiveness, we are actually literally abandoning all the bad feelings and all the bad concerns that we have about a situation or a person. And then when we do that from a spiritual level, it's universe who takes care of it. It's universe who sometimes just make those situations, people disappears all of a sudden from our life, or it's universe who just changes them in such a way that we have never expected them to be. Okay. So these spiritual laws, when we understand them and we really get into it, the results are actually beyond whatever we can consciously think about them in a certain situations. All right. Perfect. Great. So before we just wrap up today's call, I want to give you a moment that if you guys have another question, I will be more than happy to help you with that. Do we have any more questions, guys? If anybody has another question, I'm here to just answer those questions for you. All right, let me see. I think we have something. All right, perfect. I don't think we have any more questions for now. All right, perfect. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate you being here. It was a very, very great and deep conversation, I must say that. And we're gonna expand upon this conversation next week because this is not just ending here. Forgiveness, gratitude. We just want to get more and more and more into depth of this information. So once again, thank you so much for being here, taking time on your weekend, because it's very important for all of us to be in the process of self-learning. So have a lovely evening, and I will see you all then on next weekend, everybody. Have a good day. Bye.